Hey, I'm Ben Landusky. I've been in the painting industry for over 15 years. I've built Foothills Painting from $650,000 in revenue to $9 million in revenue yearly. I also co-founded National Painting Group, where we do over $37 million a year in revenue. And I've coached hundreds of business owners for the last decade. Along the way, I've made just about every recruiting mistake you can make, and I've also learned a ton of lessons. So in this video, I'm going to show you the top 6 recruiting mistakes I see, and I'm also going to give you the lessons we've learned so you can build a high-performing team yourself. The first mistake made in recruiting is before you even talk to a candidate, it's actually in the ad post itself. So when I say bad ads, what I mean are just very generic, very short, just basic ads that you see on Indeed and ZipRecruiter. And when we would post bad ads, we would just get a flood of applicants. Some of them would be qualified, but we would have to sell them on the job first. You know, you'd call somebody and they'd be like, wait, what is the job for again? And we found ourselves selling the job to the actual candidate when it should be the other way around. Not to mention, we get so many applicants. We would spend so much time going through resumes, going through applications, calling people, not getting calls back. It was a mess and it took us a ton of time. So now when we post a very custom, clear ad, we get people who apply who really want this job. They're here to work for us. And when we call them, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. Like, this is the job I applied for. So what you want to do here is you want to take the time to write your own ad. Don't do any of the suggestions that Indeed or ZipRecruiter, any of those people say to do. Make your own ad and have it be custom to your company, what you care about, why you're in business, your values. Make it yours, because that'll speak to the people that you want in your company. If you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you're probably going to hire the wrong person. You want to have your ideal candidate articulated before you start the hiring process. So when you don't do this, you're going to hire based off of talent or just off of feel, but that just doesn't give you the whole story, right? So for example, years ago, we hired a guy named Mike. He was super talented. You know, we hired him for sales, right? Super talented, could talk to anybody, like just really sold us in the interview that he was the guy. So we hired him pretty quickly. We started him off, and within a couple weeks, we knew it was the wrong hire. The reason why is he would complain about everything. He took no responsibility for any of his own results. He complained about drive time. He complained about customers. He complained about his team members. And we knew very quickly it was the wrong hire. So we ended up having to let him go and start the hiring process all over. So you want to get your ideal candidate articulated before you start the hiring process. And so when I say articulated, what I mean is you want to definitely know what skills you want for that hire, but you also want to see if they align with your values, if they align with the work-life balance you provide, if they align with your company goals and your growth and what you're doing at your business. You're probably not being selective enough with who you're talking to. So here's the adage we use. It's better to walk past A players to not waste time with B players. So what I mean by that is there's a bunch of really good people out there. So you want to be super selective though and only talk to A players. If you make a lot of exceptions, you're going to find yourself wasting a ton of time talking to B and C players and people that, you know, just shouldn't be in your organization. So you want to save yourself a lot of time and effort and really shorten this process. Only talk to people that you were blown away by, right? So let's say you post an ad. Only call people that have a great resume and a great cover letter. By the way, a little hint, require a cover letter. That will ex-nay like 90% of applicants already. So of that pool, you then want to only talk to like the top 10% of the people that even have cover letters. And of those people, you're only setting up probably 10% of them for actual interviews. The time it takes to actually hire somebody will be close to the same, but your physical time in actually talking to people, your physical labor time will be, 10x less if you do this process, right? So be super selective. Again, it's better to walk past a few A players than waste a ton of time talking to B and C players. In short, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. Haste is the enemy of good hiring. So another huge mistake we used to make was we just weren't planned well for the year. And with painting, it can be very seasonal. So we'd find ourselves like all of a sudden needing to hire a sales rep or a production manager or an office manager. The problem with this is when you hire hastily and when you hire too fast or from a mood of panic, you're gonna make a wrong hire most of the time. And when you make a wrong hire, what happens? Well, they either quit or you have to fire them, which actually slows everything down anyway. So the perception that hiring fast somehow equals faster business growth is completely wrong. If you hire too fast and you hire the wrong people, your business is going to be way slower than if you just took time to hire the right person. So the lesson to learn here is you want to plan your year before the year starts. You want to plan out your hiring outline before the year starts, right? You want to have your goals clearly laid out. You want to know the seasonality in your area so you know about when you're going to make a hire, which means you can then time out the hiring process. Because the hiring process, if you're doing it right, is like a 2-month process minimum. And so from hiring to them actually starting to train can be 2 months. So you want to be way ahead of the game instead of finding yourself like, oh crap, we need to hire somebody like 2 weeks ago. Every hire either raises your company's average or drags it down. So for years, we used to hire good enough, right? We would hire people that would fit in or like, yeah, they're good enough. Let's get them in there and let's see what they can do. The problem with this is it really dropped the average performance of the team, and it had our top performers not feel like top performers. It had them feel like, well, I guess I can just perform at an average level as well because look at all these people they're bringing in. So hiring average, let alone below average employees really is detrimental to your business. So lesson to learn here is only hire people who are going to raise the average. When you start to do this, you start to see your company elevate without you having to even intervene much because you're hiring higher and higher and better performance, which actually then brings up the performance of the whole company when you hire better and better people. Hiring friends, family, or referrals can work if you follow the system the right way. So the common adage you hear is don't hire friends and family, don't work with friends and family. This is not true. We have a ton of friends and family that work in our companies. The problem is when you hire friends and family, a lot of times the mistake made is you don't have them go through the process just like any other candidate. And so when you hire friends, family, and referrals, you want to have them go through, if anything, an even more rigorous process in the interview to make sure they're the right fit. Yeah, hire friends and family, but have them go through a good interview process where you make sure they fit with your values, they fit the skill set, and they fit the long-term goals of your company. So if you fix even one of these mistakes, you're going to save yourself months of time and thousands of dollars. But if you fix all 7, you're going to build a team of A players that actually build your company for you. If you want our exact hiring system, the one we use in all our companies that do over $37 million a year in revenue, check out the link below in the description.